Welcome to the Pondcast, the destination for insightful discussions and interviews on the appreciation, conservation, and husbandry of reptiles, with a focus on turtles and tortoises. Now, let's join our team of turtle nerds.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, quadrupeds, children of all ages, ectotherms. I don't know, John did something like that like 9.5 years ago, and it's still stuck with me since then. Welcome to another episode of the Pondcast, but excuse me, I have a cough. Not just any episode of the Pondcast. This is the 10-year anniversary episode. We've been doing this for 10 years.
Woo.
I remember like it was yesterday.
We couldn't do it.
They said we couldn't do it. Episode number 1, John and I recorded in my basement, and then episodes 2 through maybe 4 or something, we recorded off the highway while sitting in a Toyota Tercel. Two gentlemen, almost 7 feet tall, sitting in a Toyota Tercel. So thank you, everyone, for joining us already. We're here. We've got Emily with us, who's still new to the podcast. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
We've got Kevin, who's about 6 years in himself. We've got
guys,
Steve in
everybody.
the background. Steve in the background's been with us for since episode 9, I think. Hi, Steve. So all for a really long time. And then our esteemed guest back on the show for the first time. And I should have actually looked to see when the last time you were on was, but it's got to be.
If we can get some, a number in a while, but I don't remember honestly when.
It's 7 to 8 years. It's probably 7.5 years if I had to guess. I mean, I've looked back in the archives many times, but yeah, welcome back. You've got a little bit of a video delay, but we're going to work through it. We're professionals here. We can work with that.
Hey, I haven't officially met you, so very nice that you meet you. So you created.
Yeah, John, it's really nice to meet you.
Yes, it's nice to meet you both too. About both of you, I'm excited. And it's really cool to see what you guys have. Obviously, I've spent years and years dragging Anthony's dying corpse. Guys to take that and do what you've done with it. It's really cool to see how far this has come.
Now, did you say you had to take Anthony's dying? What was that? You had to drag my corpse, right? And that's
Yes,
has to do with
your body. Yes.
Is that like just a generalized obesity comment? Because I could deal with it.
No, just carrying you. No, I'm an elf. That's why that's numbers. But just on your worthlessness.
I got that last piece. Is he going in and out for you guys too? Yeah. And now Kevin too. I'm not even doing the whole way.
Oh,
Terrific.
really? I'm off now too?
Well, you were
a
for a couple times, but
Yeah.
we just, how we love the technology stuff, I'm
I
just
have a
saying.
question. When you say
When we go
two
live.
people 7 feet tall, is it a total of 7 feet tall? Like you're 6 and or is it you're both 7 feet tall?
John's actually, a lot of people don't know, but he's one of the taller turtle people you ever meet and reptile people you ever meet. John is taller than I am.
Wow.
So I'm 6'8". I mean, I really am I'll tell you, I'm 100% positive that I used to be closer to 6'9", and then you gain 120 pounds and you lose an inch. That's how that works. John, when we got to college, we played basketball together in college, and when we got to college, John was shorter than me, and then by the time we were graduating college, he was taller than me.
Wow.
So, yeah, saying.
I got 2 inches. 2 inches in the spine.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Wow,
So,
yeah.
And the neck too. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must
Yeah.
be from south of the equator.
Yes,
Bad joke.
yes, absolutely.
I don't know what that means.
It's like
Is that
snake
giraffe
necks
joke?
from south of the equator.
No.
Turtles, yes.
I'm embarrassed.
You should,
Yeah.
I got
I am. If anyone's interested in knowing more about my bromance with John, you can check out my new book, Veterinary Leadership Through Fresh Eyes, which I'm really excited about. It's been a really cool experience, and it's basically a love story written mostly to my mentor, but then also to several other people in my life who have meant a lot to me, and John being the first. You're going to hear triages here. I don't know if you heard that, but I'm at the hospital right now. Also, stories about John, and our love affair as two large reptile-loving weirdos, and how our love for each other affected our team in college. Do you remember that story, John? Did you read that part of the book?
A third of the way in, I read you about your about the team after the beginning part, but I read you talk about the team and her, that kind of thing.
The story that I told is the one that maybe you should try without headphones. I'm not sure if that'll help. I just coughed with a quick mute. Yeah. Maybe that'll help if those are totally out. Normally the headphones are really important because they avoid the echoes or whatever. But the story that I wrote about was basically John and I played the same position in college. We're the same size. We're not the same size. I was always bigger than him, even though we're the same height. He was always looked like a frog stood up on his back legs and walked around wearing a pair of pants. That's what John always looked like. And I always was even though I was on whatever Oprah diet I could be on in college to try to stay, trim and be a college basketball player. I was, he was the type of person who could eat candy for dinner. And I needed to be on a diet.
And Fruit Loops about 10 minutes ago.
There you go. Perfect. The cornerstone of any nutritious dinner. And so we played the same position. So even though we loved each other very much in a very bromance type way, still do. If I played well, that meant that he sat the bench. And if he played well, that meant that I sat the bench. And there was a game in our junior year where I was not getting in because John was playing really well, and it was in his hometown, Danbury, Connecticut. We were playing Western Connecticut State, and he played his butt off, and I was going crazy on the bench, and it was a huge game for us, and we lost the game, but I didn't get in at all. And then we had a film session afterwards, and coach singled me out to basically show everyone this is what we're talking about. You could see everyone's lifeless on the bench, nobody cared. And I was going crazy knowing that I wasn't going to get in the game, even though I could remember I wanted to get in so badly. But he just played his butt off and had probably the best game of your career. Is that right? Is that the best game of your career? Or one of them anyway?
I mean, that was that was my better games. Yeah, I think. I don't. Honestly, you said that junior year. I don't even remember. I don't remember that.
That was the Get the Message game.
Term memory. Was it the Get the Message game?
In my brain, it was the Get the Message game because that's what our coach called it, was Get the Message. So basically made us run a ton afterwards because we weren't doing things right. That was at WestCon, and it was junior year because I didn't play. I played in every game senior year, and I started over you because I was better than you.
But I think it was because I think that he showed us that at seen more of I feel like he showed us that the Amherst game, and that's what he came at halftime.
No, because I didn't sit the bench for entire games in our senior year.
Right, but you did play less in games that I way. I don't remember. He has an encyclopedic knowledge. We have to read his book again and see.
I probably just got the entire story wrong. That's how I remember it.
I trust you. That's fine.
That moment meant a lot to me. I forget pretty much everything else. That moment meant a lot to me. But
yeah, you just poured your heart out.
Right? Thank you. I told you I loved you in front of this live studio audience.
He's I don't remember.
I remember the thing. I don't remember what game. I don't know what's coming back, but yeah, no. I mean, it's mom is reading Coach Walsh, our basketball as well, about that season. It's my mom is like going back and forth and talking to me about it. And it's interesting to have two that you're very close with write a book about a year of your life. That was a year in your life. I've had two people around, and it's like it's not something I never really quantify in a way that the situation, because like even no matter was that the sacrifice like that was so important to us. It's like there's like these sports. I don't know. It just doesn't. I can see it. I feel like when it's like game recognized game. When I see other situations, like I like recognize it automatically. That could understand that what it was like. Maybe but I mean it definitely is something that's very very special and with Tony, without me and your who we were to each other, I don't think that the team isn't the same way. We don't win it as much.
I talk about it a lot. So I want to say, John, I don't know why, but you're going in and out still. Like every other word is coming through. I don't know why. So I can get the gist of what you're saying, but it's not really sounding as lovely as you should. Why don't you go back into your settings and mess with your audio, and we'll see. I'm going to keep talking to you, but I'm going to talk while you do that. Okay. So thank you. I'm going to tell a story. What you were just saying, you were talking about team and that togetherness and all of that sort of stuff. One of the things I really harp on a lot professionally is team versus. Oh, hold on. Now you need to mute yourself, John, because I can hear myself. I sound horrible. Matthew says more turtles, less sports. This is I sound horrible. I'm so nasally. So team versus family. So I think team is really where I want to be personally, because to be on a high performing team, you need to have people around you who have an amazing set of skills. You think about the Turtle Room, and you think about this podcast, and in order to do this for 10 years, we've had to have people, amazing guests, and amazing hosts who have been able to work together and recreate this over the years. Like it doesn't really look a lot like it did at the very beginning. It was audio only, and it was just John and I. We've had so many great hosts like Chris Leone and Amanda and Kevin and Emily and Steve over the years. So, it's to me, being part of a team is even more special than family in a way. Like family is like the weird uncle who has to come to Thanksgiving and make everyone feel uncomfortable. And family is like, for me, is like, doing like peeing in a cup for my adult family members so that they could get a job when I was like 12 years old. Like that's family to me. So people will say all the time in professional settings, like family is like, we're all just a dysfunctional family here. Ha ha ha. And that's not attractive to me at all. Not even a little bit. Team before family. So I'm very proud. And we're getting a little bit like mushy here with what we're talking about, but it's 10 years and we really want to reflect on what that means for all of us. So 10 years in, and thank you. I just want to say thank you to you guys and to everybody that's been able to make this a reality. And I'm looking forward to doing another 10 anyway. Emily, as somebody who's new, what are kind of your thoughts? If you don't mind me just throwing it to you for a sec.
Just team versus family, the podcast. I mean, I will definitely say I feel like I've always felt like team versus family. They run a lot more similar than that to me anyway. Just because I think of friends and family and team all a little bit pretty similar. I didn't play basketball, although I did get recruited. Not quite as tall as you, or they attempted to recruit me. I'm 5'8", 5'9", so still about a foot shorter than you, but still pretty tall, right? Yeah. Kevin, are we the same height? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So
taller than me,
Yeah, I played color guard and I did dance. So I was pretty involved throughout high school and college. And I think my teammates, they were some of my best friends and they were pretty much my family. Although I am pretty close with my family, so maybe I just view it a little bit differently. But I was wondering, since we're celebrating 10 years, can I interview you a little bit? Do you mind if I ask you some questions? So,
Yeah,
all
who's you?
right.
Me or John or who?
Well, all of you guys. So I want to know what is one of your favorite episodes that you guys have done so far. Favorite guest, favorite episode, favorite topic that you've talked about. I want all of it. We can start with
I'll
you,
start.
Anthony.
Oh,
Oh
Anthony,
yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. Go.
No, I just
I
had
don't
one
care.
top. I just had one right off the rip. My Ty from Iguanaland. It was like just the entire time. Didn't feel like there was a moment walking at all. So that was pretty great. And they're all amazing in their own right. But low, and you're like, well, who talks next? What are we supposed to talk? And I felt like that didn't happen that episode. So it was a great experience.
That's a really good point. I remember that episode a lot. Ty was one of those ones where it's just like a plug and play episode. You get him on and it's just like, go ahead and talk, and then he goes, and then you might not get another chance to even have a follow-up question for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's not, and I'm not saying that it's just a plug and play episode. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to have much of a plan.
Yeah.
You're just kind of guiding the conversation a little bit, and he's doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But I mean, what an
But I feel
exciting
like
thing. That was what, as he was building Iguanaland. Go ahead.
I feel like we didn't know that about him going into it. At least that's why I was taken aback how smooth it was. You know?
Yeah, totally. And that was the main conversation I ever had with him. I was able to spend some time with him this year, which was great, down, at Iguanaland, and I was shocked by how much time he provided us. I was just hoping to say hello, and he spent like 4 hours with us and like took us to lunch. It was incredible. But
That's cool.
having him on the Pondcast was amazing because that was the first time to actually get to know him. And we've had that experience with a lot of people where the first time to really get to know somebody was on this show.
Yeah.
I think for me, and I don't know, John, if you have one, but I'll say for me, two really stand out in my mind, although there's more. Like there's people like Chris Hagen from the TSA, who's somebody who I just really appreciate and just listen intently to anytime they talk. But I think in terms of episodes where I was really excited about the content, the conversation, I think one, that was a weird cough. I think one was, one was definitely Randy Betts from Tort Stork, because there was so much controversy around him shipping turtle and tortoise eggs at that time. I thought it was really important at that time when it was really a big deal, a big topic of contention for a lot of people that we had him on at that moment. And then another one is Tom Crutchfield. Like, I think having Tom on, such an iconic figure in the reptile world, on to chat with us was really important to me. And I'm also very proud as a host that with some of those, like Randy and Tom, I was able to ask some tougher questions because by my nature, I'm a very nice person and I want to be friendly with everyone. But I also understand that when you have someone on the show, certain people will look at that and say, well, why do you have that person on? Like, do you align with them? And I think it's really important because our podcast is tied to the Turtle Room. It's really important to show, no, we're talking about important issues here. And we try to stay neutral on as many things as we can. And my job is just to bring the unbiased information out there so that people can then make their determinations themselves. I don't want to drive you in a certain direction. I want to give you the opportunity, give you the information direct from the source. And the only way to do that is to not be buddies, all buddies with the way that you're interviewing someone, and ask them some difficult questions. You don't have to be like Barbara Walters about it, but
Mm-hmm.
Really good job with Tom. Yeah, definitely. Even it was, we asked trickier questions. Plus, he was really great. He was like, nothing was off, which was awesome with Tom.
When we met him in person, like I said, Mr. Crutchfield, it's such an honor to meet you. He was like, first of all, call me Tom. And I was like, okay, Mr. Tom Crutchfield, thanks so much for your time. I said, is there anything that you don't want to talk about? And we were standing there in a kitchen in East Hartford, Connecticut, or Glastonbury, actually. She's from East Hartford, but we were in Glastonbury. And he's like, first thing you got to know about me is I don't give a F. And I was like, oh, except he didn't say F. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is an absolute gangster. And I'm sure everyone knows that except me. I'm like this newer person to it, and I had no idea, but it was awesome. So, John, let's give you a crack at this question.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Huh?
More or less.
Great. Not great. Specific one that I would say that I would point to was of figuring it out as we went at the beginning. Was really fun, and just seeing like I could get people on. Like, this was very, I've only fun of doing it, but then I also don't remember. So a very, very, very poor memory. But yeah,
I'm so embarrassed for you right now.
I feel like, yeah, you can't hear what
Why don't you hold up signs with what you want to say, and we'll read it verbatim while it's coming up. Emily
Bob
and I.
Dylan type stuff.
Yeah.
Kevin's like 75% of the way there. John's like 35%, and Emily and I are 100%.
Yeah, I can hear you great. So.
Steve from the chat just said, "Love Actually," and I will keep on loving you for. I don't know what he says. I can't remember. It's an awkward scene, but it would be fitting for us.
Is that the one with the boombox in the window and he holds something up?
Yeah. It's like, shh, don't say anything. Yeah. I love you. I've always loved you. I'll keep on loving you.
John, he was talking to you just then with that whole line.
Yeah, I was talking directly to John. Directly to him. What a lot of people also don't know, John, is a story. I don't know. We probably have talked about this.
Is it a scooter?
He's holding up a razor.
Scooter right next to
I'm so embarrassed.
The car is a scooter,
garage. No, I'm
embarrassed.
This is a shared garage. I didn't get shared garage. And what you see my old outside boot.
It's funny sometimes the words that the computer decides to let get through because it just makes it sound hilarious. I'm embarrassed. A lot of people don't know this. We probably mentioned this, John, early on the podcast many years ago, but John and I were also in a Rhode Island newspaper because we were happy. We were in the middle of having the best season in the history of our college, but we also had a peculiar pregame ritual, and it mostly came from me. I'll take credit for it, from me being really superstitious. So if you can imagine this, first of all, I used to have a really big, like, white guy afro that I used to pick out with like an afro pick before the game. So I would shower before the game and then shave around my beard because I always have a beard, and then I would pick my hair out and blow dry it. So I would have the bigger hair for the game. And that was like junior year too. But then, because the reason is we would go to the game and we would have a game before us and we would watch part of that game, and people were just cool with it. They would come up and just like our teammates would just sit down in the stands and watch the game that was before us. And I couldn't do it. I'd be like freaking out sitting there because I was just so anxious about it. I still get this way now with the turtle stuff and the writing stuff. I put so much pressure on myself. I'd be really nervous. I could not be cool. So what we did our senior year is we started going to the local exotic pet shop that had like an anaconda and an adult alligator and Burmese pythons and alligator snapping turtles and stuff like that. And we would go and just hang out and like molest a bunch of reptiles, not in the bad way, but like, just handle a bunch of reptiles for no reason. And we got on this really long winning streak, and the local newspaper heard about it and they sent someone down to interview us about the fact that we used to do that. And it was pretty awesome. So it was like the connection, the basketball and the reptiles, and really who we were at that point. And we would get recruits in from all over the place. And anytime they had someone like from the inner city, they would never send them with John and I. Because do you remember what Kasim used to call our apartment? Kasim was from New Haven, Connecticut, and about 6'6" and very outspoken gentleman, Kasim Johnson. And he used to refer to our apartment as the jungle. You don't remember that?
No. Well, that sounds right, though.
Yeah, we had animals everywhere. We had pretty large tortoises. We had
In an apartment?
Yeah, tons of lizards, snakes, turtles, all sorts of stuff.
Tony didn't have a dresser. He had a setup with like 6 different cages for. So at one point you had the like baby sulcatas, bearded dragons.
Yep.
And there was some. What was it? What shell?
Most of what I had there was bearded dragons.
Layers, right?
Yeah, but I had a lot of bearded dragons.
Bearded dragons.
Yeah, because I bred them. I had like 19 bearded dragons at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, it was horrible. They're like
How many?
Like I think I had 19 bearded dragons at one point.
Yeah,
it was a bad idea.
Had over 20 animals altogether.
Yeah, in a dorm room.
Because
No, that was at our apartment. We had an apartment. It was like one level of like a split level house.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the dorm room, I did have alligator snapping turtles in the dorm room, and I just like strong armed the RAs. They were like, "Well, I heard you have some turtles." I was like, "No, you didn't," and they're like, "Okay, no, I didn't." And it was, and I'm a very nice person, but I was definitely very pushy when it came to my reptiles. Like, I'm going to keep whatever I want in my dorm.
It was the afro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have pictures of this afro?
Person.
I'm just really.
What's this all about?
Kevin is not believing that I'm a nice person. I actually am nice. I have a different persona on the podcast because, John, you don't know about this because John doesn't watch the podcast anymore. He just left us and just never decided to take a peek anymore. But Kevin...
I do. That's not sometimes. I also have been listening to Turtley.
Oh, thank you. Turtley Devoted.
Nice.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Right, I listen to...
But I don't know if you know about this shtick, but Kevin... I give Kevin a hard time all the time, but it's he just makes it too easy. I couldn't hear what you said.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, I'm genuinely nice.
Yeah, no, you're genuinely nice too. It makes it awkward. I don't have any of the Afro pics. I'll have to get them for you guys, but they're John's mother does. John's mother is a professional photographer. Autumn Studios, and the photos in my book of John and I as young men came from those days. But there's no I didn't have the afro all through college. It was like mostly my junior year I just decided to grow my hair out. It was more of like my attempt at like Jersey Shore like blowout, which was popular at the time. Disgusting. Horrible
Jersey
haircut.
Shore blowout.
You know, where it's like it's big hair, but it's like shaved here. You know,
or slicked back. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't slick it back. It was like dry, but then with the little.
I think I've seen this. I think you've seen these photos.
Yeah, you probably.
I don't know. I think it's pics or it didn't happen. So yeah.
I have a picture. I can picture the thing. I don't know the chat here. I have definitely a picture of you with a doorknob that you ripped off of somebody's bathroom door did it accidentally. I think you just ripped their doorknob off.
Is that the picture where I look like where you had a joke that I look like Pitbull?
Might be
like young Pitbull, like Pitbull before he shaved his head too.
Yeah,
that was a classic. Yeah, just saying. So it's kind of weird.
Next question.
What's that? Does Emily have another question? You're going to put her on the spot?
I thought that was
Oh,
a good
me?
idea.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll keep interviewing you guys. So I guess one of the things.
Oh.
Is this the photo?
That's with hair, but it's not really like the afro hair, but yeah.
Is that which one? Wait.
Can you zoom in?
Here.
Can you zoom in at all, Steve? Steve knows what he's doing. Steve said that's the best I could find. At least you found something. So that's Anthony with hair, but it was a lot
That
bigger than
goatee.
that. Yeah. I'd change it up like every day. Every game I would have a different beard style.
This tribal tattoo here that I'm seeing?
Oh yeah. Remember the game when the guy in the stands was making fun of my tattoos, John? Hey, 34, nice tattoos. Real intimidating.
Actually, you do look a little intimidating there, especially because you're saying you're like almost 7 feet tall. Yeah, I would be afraid.
I don't know.
An RA, I'd be like, you can have
Tribal
as many reptiles
armband.
as
Come
you
be scared
want.
of that.
I know. It was a different time. Okay, the tribal armband. I got that tribal armband tattoo when I was on my 16th birthday, so it was still popular then.
16? You were allowed a tattoo when you were 16?
Yeah, that's an interesting story too. I got my first tattoo when I was 14, and my mother always told me if I got she had been telling me for a while, if I made the honor roll, that she would she would get me a tattoo. And I was 14, but I was like 6'7", 6'8", and that cough is weird. And I made the honor roll, and she was like, okay, well, now I'm going to get you a tattoo, I guess. So she took me to the tattoo parlor, and he was like, how old is this kid? And she was like, he's 17. He was like, all right, 17, bring some identification that says that he's 17, and I'll do the tattoo. Which is weird because the age was 18, but he was like, oh, if he's close enough, he's a big kid, whatever, I'll tattoo him. So my mother is like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I promised this kid a tattoo. So she brings me to the DMV with a birth certificate that she forged using like an old typewriter, like legitimately got an old typewriter and was like, tick, 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 tick. And then she used for like, the state of Connecticut seal on the birth certificate. She used an owner's manual for a Cadillac Sedan DeVille and pressed it into, so it literally a birth certificate with the Cadillac emblem pressed into the paper. And we go there and they give me a real fake ID, which was awesome. So I went and got the tattoo at 14. And of course, it's like a cartoon basketball man that you can barely even see anymore. It doesn't even look like a birthmark. You can barely even see it. But
it's not
it's not what, Kev?
like the Tasman ball.
I can't hear what you're saying at all.
All right, well, that leads me to my follow-up question, is which one of you turtle nerds has a turtle tattoo? I know one of you has to.
I have, so I have a tattoo on my chest that barely anyone's ever seen. That's like a jailhouse tattoo that I got from some kid who was learning how to tattoo. That's like the Mortal Kombat symbol with a turtle. It's like both fused together. It is the worst tattoo of all time. And yeah.
Okay.
Or another way, the best tattoo of all time.
Yeah, it's either the worst or the best tattoo, depending on
It's
how you look at it. Yeah.
I want one. I wanted to made the larger mistake. My 4-year-old son is going to get on my birthday this year. I mean, as a lifelong turtle guy, cow on my arm.
Right. He wants you to get a cow. Your son is obsessed with cows still.
Obsessed. Like from day one, he came out of the womb.
Isn't that interesting? It's so interesting. I mean, he's interested in all animals, right? And that's the next step now. I think is so cool because now we have our kids who are like interested in these things, and it's weird how it kind of manifests like that. Because you think, and I was just talking with a friend about this, how he's got his kids are interested, but are interested in different. In different animals, and like the turtles are just like whatever, I'm used to it, But for me, like I've got one daughter's obsessed with horses and cats, and she's never even really like been with a cat before, but she does ride horses. And then my other daughter is obsessed with dogs and wants to be a dog breeder one day. Have I ever been with a cat? I have. Yeah. It might be why I'm coughing so much. Is the cat that like shares my office with me? Because that's
Well, I think
normal.
for both of you, if you're worried that maybe your kids aren't going to follow in your turtle loving path, I mean, I know for me, my dad was obsessed with reptiles when I was a kid. And when I went to school, it was specifically so that I could be a zookeeper. Did I know what animals I wanted to work with? I think at the time it was big cats or something. I thought that they were cool. And I ended up working at a zoo for a little bit, and well, for a few years actually. And I got to work with the giraffe, and I was like, these animals are so cool, right? And then they ended up being, I I felt like they were kind of dumb. I got to work with the cheetah. I thought that would be exciting, and then I felt like they were kind of wimpy. And then I got to work with the penguins, and I was like, birds, this is where my life is going to be. So I worked with birds for a while, and then I think probably after about 12 years, I finally circled back to reptiles. So if you're worried that they're going to fall down a dark path of anything except turtles, they'll make their way back. Don't worry.
I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I worked with a lot of different things. I still work with birds now, but mostly reptiles.
John?
They're so close.
Yeah.
So not that not so far. They get the same look in their eye when they're looking at you. I work with birds. What do you mean?
What do you mean by that? What does working with birds mean?
So I have a red-tailed hawk, and I'm a falconer. Yeah, I'm a licensed falconer, so I have my own red tail. Yep. Yeah, I actually usually have him with me. Today I left him at home because he wasn't in good condition to hunt. I know, or otherwise I would have taken him out to show you. But I have my red tail that I fly with every day. And then I also work at a bird of prey facility in New York. So I'm there on the weekends, and we have all sorts of birds: hawks, falcons,
in
eagles.
The Hudson Valley?
Yeah, yep, it's in Goshen.
So I read H's for
Yep.
Which is, I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, I
brilliant
have
book. And I was okay. I would. That's so you don't God bless him. That kind of like live, like hunting and really cool. And I looked into that, and I actually found by that same place because I found a place that I was trying to experience with. You can go and do different things. They do like people can come in and for a day, for an hour or whatever like that. Go. Is that the idea?
Yeah. So I think I caught most of what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so it's called Falconry Excursions. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in case anyone's didn't catch everything that he's saying, basically what we offer is people can come and we let you hold a bunch of the different birds of prey that we have, and we have a whole bunch of education birds. We'll let you handle a few of them, and then we'll let you go free flying with one of our Harris hawks. So do you know when you went? Was this recently?
I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I got it. No, I was looking into it. I forget what happened. Yeah, I'm trying. I want to go this. I want to go in the spring. My plan.
Okay. Yeah. So if you go during the fall or the winter, that's when we actually get to go hunting with the birds. But if you go during the spring, it's a lot nicer of a hike through the woods, and also we have a lot of baby birds that you get to meet. So if you go on the weekends, then you'll get to do your show with me. So hopefully I'll see you there.
John, if you could just do me a favor and just get your what together. So type in to the chat. We have a private chat right here, your comments, and I'm going to read them, and they're going to be really funny. It's going to be a lot. It's going to land a lot better. So for people that also don't know, John, when we started the podcast, John was like fresh off of moving to New York to be a stand-up comedian, which was awesome. His material was at its finest. He's still a very funny person. It's tough to really quantify that when every fourth word is what you're actually hearing when somebody's talking.
In the chat where everyone will see it.
He's just gonna keep talking anyway and just not do the chat. You can't find the chat. It's the chat. It's
Find it.
It's the chat labeled private chat.
Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
he said I see it. John sees it. Everybody, this is gonna be funny now.
You want me?
Let's do that. If you can just if you could just heckle me through that, I think it'll be a lot funnier and people will actually get more out of it.
Everyone
We'll do it that way.
can't see that though.
Yeah, I know, but that's what's funny about it. So I'll
It's
say
funny
John
he's gonna
says.
censor it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like,
And-
"Oh, it's coming through. John says I'm the best." He says
Exactly.
I'm the best
He
again.
won't.
Wow, it's.
Yeah. John says my beard sucks. Exactly. That's what I'm looking at.
I hope
And
you're
he
not
spelled
talking
it-
about my beard. Oh,
He spelled
okay.
it S-U-X. I'm just
Yeah, that was
kidding.
the best.
He didn't spell it that way. All right, Kevin's back in action.
You can hear me?
I heard you. Yeah, you
can
sound
hear you,
terrific
yeah.
for
Awesome.
now.
My new computer, different computer.
Okay, all right. You're in the swing right now. I love it. So
Now
I
that
got
we
a
can
couple
ask you
questions.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
We're gonna
I've got
ask
a
the
couple
same
questions.
thing, I think.
Yeah, about John, about what John is keeping now. Everyone just assumes that if he's on the podcast, then he has to be a keeper. No offense, Mark and Matthew. I wasn't saying you assume, but you just, it's a good question to ask because we're having him on. And John, you don't keep any animals right now. As you can see, for
Typing.
anyone who's watching the video, he's shaking his head no. He says he rents and it's not allowed. That's ridiculous. Can you have a cat?
I have a cat.
How could you be allowed a cat? How could you be allowed a cat and not a reptile?
Yeah.
A reptile lives in its little house.
Reptilian bias.
It is
Anti-reptilian bias.
Yeah, reverse bias. That stinks. I hate that. He's talking again instead of putting things in. What else was I gonna say? I also just want to say this is so funny. We're avoiding the crash and burn though, which I really like. Emily, you're talking about. I feel like every time this is your third time on the show. I feel like every time we learn these cool tidbits about you that just like blow my mind. And I think back to what we were talking about before, like the team versus family. Like we're getting to know you and we're building this bond with you. But you're here because you are a talented person, like through and through. You know what I mean? So like to hear you talk about yourself and the things that you're excited about and the things that you've accomplished in your life, like such a fan of yours, and I'm so happy that you're here.
Oh,
So.
thank you.
John says people are afraid of us. What does that mean? People are afraid of reptile people, right?
I thought that was a tall person joke. Oh, okay.
Right. I think he means reptile people. Yeah, reptile people because it's not necessary and it's weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to outlaw reptiles before they outlaw cats that are killing a bunch of, native species because cats are seen as a necessity and reptiles aren't even seen as a luxury. They're seen as something that weird people like. So he says it's a combo also because it's also a height joke.
Well, speaking of that, have you heard about some of the legislation that they're changing in Connecticut? I don't know if it's maybe like kind of towing the line to talk about it, but
No, that's totally fine.
Yeah, so I know that they're trying to make some laws that would make it a little bit harder for us to do outreach programs, not necessarily for us with our reptiles at this time, but I know that they're trying to put some restrictions on what animals can go out for outreach programs. So we're actually going to host a fundraiser to try and raise money for USR because we're a little bit worried that it could compromise some of our programs.
Really? I think that's incredible. And this is why, remember I said I like to ask some tougher questions because we had Brian on, your boss, the owner of Riverside Reptile. Is that okay if I call him your boss?
He is my boss, yeah.
I know, but you kind of run things for him and like keep him in line. So it's kind of more of like a partnership, I guess. Nothing against Brian. He's incredible and he's definitely the boss and the owner.
Mm-hmm.
But the tougher questions I wanted to ask him were, what about the reptile trade and and keeping reptiles as pets and that sort of thing? Because I think you toe that line as an education as an educational outlet, like reptiles are not just a thoughtless pet that you get someone. They're not like bunny rabbits on Easter. Like you don't just go out without thinking and just grab one and then that's it. Like you have to talk people out of it a lot as a part of your. So I think sometimes people see folks like Brian and yourself and Riverside as like maybe being a little bit further away from the keeper side and maybe a little bit anti-pet trade, if that makes any sense. Is that fair?
I can see that for sure. I mean, I know that in some of the reptile groups, so I'm not as active on social media, but I used to be on Facebook, and I would see in the groups all the time that it was really polarizing. I know that sometimes you see the keeper side from people who work with them in their personal lives, and then the keeper side from people who work with them professionally. And I feel that sometimes there's a little bit of friction between those two. And I think that one really great thing about my relationship with Brian is that he kept them personally and professionally, and I've only really kept them professionally. So we were kind of able to merge that together. And we're both really progressive in our keeping methods. And I think that that's something both sides can agree on, is that, you know, whatever is the best way to keep them, that's how we want to keep them. So we do kind of toe that line a little bit. And I mean, so last week, I think it was, when we were interviewing Brian, we mentioned our rehoming guide. I get calls all week, every single day. Sometimes I get up to 3 calls a day of people looking to rehome their pets. And sometimes we can take it in for them, but most of the time we can't. And we know that if we help to rehome these pets, it's just going to end up in another home where maybe that kid is now going to go off to college, and then it might end up back into the pet trade, and it just kind of circulates. But that is definitely something that we don't struggle with, but we just handle carefully, I'll say. Yeah, I think we just lost John.
He's
like, bye.
Disappeared.
Lights went out in the garage, you know?
Oh,
hey.
I'm here. I'm trying to, I'm here. So bear with me for 2 seconds.
I don't believe you.
I love it.
I have zero faith in you.
So
This is great.
Should.
I have no faith. John did make a point in the chat that Kevin liked. Kevin, what point was that?
My 4-year-old's having like a epic meltdown, so I didn't want you to hear screaming.
Terrific.
Yeah. The point in the chat that, you know, when we're discussing how people are like fear reptiles and whatnot, it's that we're so far removed from them from like the evolutionary ladder that people don't really see any kind of similarities between us whatsoever, you know? That's why I thought that was a pretty interesting notion.
You know, there's scientific research that backs up what a normal person thinks is cute and what they're willing to do decision-making wise based on cuteness. So like, you know, a baby has a smaller face with smaller features, right? Like when they make fun of Dwight Schrute in The Office for having like a baby face, he has like a small nose and a small mouth. John used to make fun of me for the same thing, actually. Anyway, you can't even see my lips, even if I didn't have a beard. But so babies are like that. But then also we have puppies are like that as well. And certain breeds of dogs that really shouldn't even exist, like your brachycephalic breeds, are kind of like that too, where they have these little smushed faces and they're just so cute to us. There's definitely a cuteness factor there, and I think that has been proven scientifically to be a part of the success of animals like canines and cats. I don't think reptiles have that for most people. They do for us. Like, to me, there's nothing more precious than a hatchling turtle in the world. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Yeah, and I think some people just don't see things the way that we do, and that's the challenge that we have, right? As educators and as people that care and are going to get out there and do something about it, we need to try to help people who don't see things the way that we do appreciate something that we appreciate so much. And it's a real challenge for most of us. It doesn't come as easy for all of us as it did for Steve Irwin. Something about, he was selling himself, and then people were learning about the animals in the process. Look at this crazy Australian dude.
Yeah, his charisma was off the charts.
Yeah, right. And I think that's the way to do it successfully, though. I think he started a blueprint that's that's being followed by thousands of YouTubers around the world as we speak.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when I see a hatchling baby snake with their big, stupid eyes, oh, I just want to squish it. It's so cute. I love it so much. But I know that for a lot of people, they just, all they see is snake and they just see red or they just black out. They're like, no. But I like it.
That's me with bears.
Yeah, really?
Want nothing to do with them.
Was there a story behind this?
Just they're bears. They're the scariest things in the world.
Okay, all right.
Is that why you're scared of me, Kev?
No, I mean, you're the bear in a different kind of sense. I just don't go to the club with you.
I've definitely been called a bear before by certain friends. Yeah,
yeah,
true.
They're just that thing's they're just crazy. You know, if they want to eat you, it's not even like a quick kill. They'll just hold you down and chew on you. I'm good with that.
John says that his son likes Robert Irwin and the stuff that they're doing.
Oh,
And
I
says
agree.
that they have very good content. I do. I don't know. I struggle with them a little bit. It's weird. Like Steve is the holy grail to me, and I'm so proud of his family that they exist and everything's going on. But I don't know. But my kids do love Bindi and Robert for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's just I guess the shows are just different now, and I don't know. His were more adventure. I like those a lot more.
Anthony Barleone. That's cute.
It's good. If I had a furrier forehead. But, yeah.
John, do you have any random fears of animals like bears? Apparently.
It's not exactly random. They
No.
live where we live.
I'm not afraid. I'm really afraid of anything.
Tough guy.
Anthony, are you afraid of anything?
Weird.
Yes, I'm afraid. I am deathly afraid of maple syrup, and I really don't like wasps that much. Like I've stepped on a nest twice in my life. One time was when I was like 14. I got stung all over, and then I also stepped on a yellow jacket nest that was in the ground when I was showing some German turtle experts around and catching turtles. And I stepped on the nest and I got stung like 25 times all over. It was so obnoxious. I was like running and I could feel their bodies hitting my legs as they were flopping around while their stingers were in my legs.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like grabbing them with my fingers and ripping them out and throwing them and like killing them with my hand. I would never do that. It was so awkward and weird. I was in so much pain. So then I wake up the next day to take them out again. And we go out and I have a turtle net in the back of the car. It's hanging out while I was driving. And I go to grab the net, and I'm talking to them about how much pain I've been in with the bee stings, because I've been talking about it nonstop, because that's what I do. Excuse me. And I put my hand on the net as I'm talking to them to pull it out of the car, and I get stung by a bee on my hand.
No.
Like, this is the worst. So anyway, I'm kind of fearful. I'm not fearful of like a bee, because they're not going to sting you if you don't mess with them. I'm fearful that I am an unathletic, large bear of a man, and I'm just going to step on the nest and not see it, and then get stung and have to waddle my way away from them as fast as I can. So that's why I'm scared of them.
It's
And also
so
maple
weird.
syrup.
When you said that you're a bear of a man, I think I saw Kevin shiver. Maybe out of the corner of my
He definitely
eye.
did.
He was like, he is a bear. Oh.
He definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Just saying.
Yeah. So you guys are all weird. Got it. I can't. All right. I have my irrational fear. We mentioned it last time. Is frogs. Not all
Yeah, that
frogs,
is
just
irrational.
bullfrogs, and also great apes. They're too smart. I don't like it. And, yeah.
Great apes?
Yeah, great apes.
Great babe.
Any of the great apes are terrifying to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I guess.
I
That's us.
guess.
I'm afraid of maple syrup, and you're like,
That's-
okay, Emily, if you have to be scared of apes,
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know why
rip
I
your
let the
face
maple
off.
syrup one slide too. I like that you said maple syrup, and we're all like, okay, and then you were just like bees, and we're like, wait a second, what?
yeah, like I can't like have maple syrup near me at all.
John says that old world monkeys are scarier to him.
Fair enough.
Old world monkeys. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have a bear story. It did not end in tragedy, but I was beyond terrified. I'll tell you this. And and I'm not ashamed to. I'm gonna sound like a little baby right here, truly. So this was probably
Can't wait.
15 years ago. I was camping with my sister, her husband, and my girlfriend at the time. And I woke
If you're
up
going to tell the story from the great outdoors of the bald bear, all right, because it sounds like that's how it's starting out. Okay,
Oh, I wish I did that. I love John Candy so much.
okay, me too.
All right, so I wake up at like 3 a.m. to like go to the bathroom, and I hear scratching like on a tent, and it's not my tent, but I hear it like on a different tent. And you're waking up, and your eyes are getting adjusted, and I look out, and I see this bear. It's a small bear. If it like stood up tall, it's probably 5.5, 6 feet tall. You know, not gigantic, but big enough for me. I'm good. And it's scratching on this tent, and it's these like little kids' tent, and I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, we're all gonna die. This thing's like looking to eat us right now, you know. And I call over to my sister, and I'm like, hey, like there's a bear. But I'm like whispering it just enough they can hear me, which is stupid because the bear can.
The bear.
They can. But I was like so shook in that moment, and like my sister's husband at the time like started yelling at me. He's like, shut up and go back to sleep. I'm like, no, there's a bear. And I just wanted to get my keys to get in my car. I felt like I would be safe in my car. But my keys were on the picnic table, which was halfway to the bear. So like I didn't think I was fast enough. I was like, I'll just die if I get out there, you know? So I just kind of cowered in my sleeping bag and forced myself to sleep and just woke up. Maybe I would have died. Maybe I wouldn't have. I gave up.
My favorite part of this is Chris. I was laughing the entire time at Chris Drake's comment in the chat. He said, I thought this was going to start off that you were at a nightclub. He's like, all right, so listen to this, right? I walk into this club. I'm just picturing you having a bear story. Oh my gosh.
I didn't go to a lot of clubs.
This huge, hairy guy wearing nothing but leather pants. Okay.
John says, if you didn't sleep smeared in honey, it would be less scary.
Yeah, it's true.
That reminds me of Heavyweights. Remember the guy in the smeared in honey?
Yeah.
Don't just leave me here. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what he says. Yeah, the buddy system. Anyway,
wasn't the bear like licking him?
It was a deer.
Deer, okay.
It was a deer. Yeah.
It was a deer. Yeah. I'm just saying. Well, I think we can move towards wrapping this one up. I'm embarrassed. Listen, I have to say this, and I kind of started to allude to it earlier, but didn't really totally go all the way there. We've had a rich history over 10 years of getting together and having some amazing conversations with amazing people, and this is right there with it. We also have had a rich history over the last 10 years of having technical difficulties, the likes of which rival anyone's technical difficulties, and this was right there. I can't tell each of you how much you mean to me and how excited I am for all of you. Like, John, for you to come back, I appreciate you so much. Kevin, for you to be dedicated to this for 6 years. Steve, since the very beginning as well, supporting this as well as the founder and president of the Turtle Room, and understanding that even though we get a little bit silly on this show, it's still an opportunity to get the word out about some really important animal issues. And as long as we try to keep it as professional as we can, that it still checks a lot of important boxes. It's also, it also doesn't always, it's not a direct representation of the Turtle Room, right? The podcast. It's its own thing, and it's something that we wanted to do to try to invite people in and have a fun, relaxed atmosphere where we can talk about some important issues. But it's not a direct representation of the Turtle Room. And Steve, that's something that you've always understood from the very beginning when John and I first pitched this to you more than 10 years ago now. The first episode was February 23rd, 2013. We're almost at the 10-year mark. Obviously, this is the 10-year episode, being that this is February.
That's my anniversary.
So, and just looking forward to the future, having Emily here, who represents something I think that we've never had on this show, and an exciting new heights that we could take this to, given her, very broad experience and knowledge base that's far more extensive than ours, with us living in our little turtle boxes, and obviously we'll always bring it back to that like we always have. So thank you everyone who supported us, and I'll give everyone a chance to have a final thought. And John, your final thought will be in the chat, so please, we'll read it for you. Okay. So, Kevin, do you want to start?
Sure. I want to start by saying, John and Anthony, thank you both for creating this a long time ago. I'm very, very honored that I get to be a part of it. To Steve and Anthony for even bringing me onto the Turtle Room in the first place. And I really enjoyed doing the video for all the years, and I really do want to get back to it. And hopefully we'll be able to soon. A lot more proactive about it, I should say. But thank you for that. Emily, I'm so happy to have you on the show now. Now I'll still get beaten up, but not as much because he'll be busy talking to you. So it's really great.
And I'll be nice to you.
Yeah, I'm excited for another 6 years, another 10 years, whatever this, however long this goes on for.
Thanks, Kev. Emily?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to you guys too. You're the ones who brought it this far, and I am so honored to be a part of this too. And I'm really glad that I got to know you better, especially you, Anthony, because when I first met you, I was like kind of annoyed with you. You were ignoring my text messages, and I was like, who is this guy? And then finally I got to know you, and I was like, all right, he's pretty cool. And I think it started the same way with Kevin, because the first time I met you, I yelled at you too. So I'm glad I got to know both of you.
I love that so much. I can't even tell you that you have that. I don't think everyone's seen what I've been picking up on too. That's what I'm really excited about, to see what Brian sees, which is like, you're no nonsense. You're no BS.
Yeah.
And you say it like it is. And I don't think people know that yet. And it's starting to come out more. And I'm really excited about that. And the coolest part about what you just said is that's 100% true.
It is.
I am flaky as flaky gets.
Yeah.
And I take on a lot. I'm like a yes man, like by nature or whatever. Like at baseline, I'm a yes man. I say yes to a lot. I take on a lot. I have a lot of great ideas. And then I'm freaking out about how much I have, and I go long periods without responding to people all the time. So John's final thought: the Pondcast is like life in that it didn't go like I planned. I love you all, and I'll always have your carapace, as in
Aww.
your back. John, that was lovely. Really well written.
It's quite
right?
nice.
Man, everyone's watching and saying, I really wish, I wish that everyone watching knew how charming you are, and because they didn't get it tonight with the stupid technical issues. I know, it's the worst. It's the worst. Like, the best part of you is that.
Can I ask John one quick question?
Go ahead, Kev.
So I'm going to ask John the question. John, you write in the chat, but Emily, I want you to answer. I don't want Anthony answering what it says. Okay, John, was Anthony any good at basketball, and could he actually dunk?
You want me to read that?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, he says so and kind of.
So good at basketball, kind of could dunk.
Yeah.
I guess it depends how you
Thank
read
you.
it. Is he saying you were so or you were so good at basketball?
Like, this doesn't count.
That's
John
your
could dunk.
interpretation.
John could dunk from the free throw line and could go between the legs, like before it was like mainstream and cool and what every kid was trying to do who was 6'9". So compared to him, yes, I could kind of dunk compared to him. But we actually, John, we were in a dunk contest together that I won. Do you remember?
Not in the dunk
Yes.
contest.
Listen. No, I'm telling you, there was a camp. Hold on, I have to cough again. This is the worst. 10 years, y'all. There was a camp at our school, and with kids that were like at basketball camp, and they had us go there, and they had us do like a dunk contest. It was me, you, and Kevin Zalucky, and I did like a wraparound one-handed dunk, like reverse, and which is not impressive at all. It was off 1 foot. It's like stupid. It's all different variations of the same exact thing because I can only jump off 1 foot and dunk with one hand. And they loved it. And we were going by cheer, and I won. 100%. You have to understand, as somebody who can't jump as high as you guys, it was an important moment for me.
I think you can probably still jump higher than
Or
most people.
400
No.
pounders that are dunking.
Yeah, I'm basically now like Earthquake from the WWE, like a huge man who's pretty agile for a 400-pounder. Not bad.
Refrigerator Leone.
Yeah, I'm like Refrigerator Perry, except I'm 80 pounds heavier than him. Yeah, terrific. Just saying. Darn, what else am I going to say?
Leone.
Steve, can you put yourself on? Can you give a thought too, as the leader of the Turtle Room?
Yeah, I see Steve on.
Yeah, sure. Like, the podcast has been, a big part of the Turtle Room interacting with the public over the last 10 years. And that, those early episodes were a great start to what we were doing. And John was there through all the transitions from like pre-recorded audio to then we did a little more production with the audio where I was recording some stuff that you guys were then putting into it. And then we went live with John through Google Hangouts when that was, and we did that for the longest time. And then, Hangouts stopped being able to be used as a live thing with YouTube, and we had to kind of change, how we were doing. But John kind of, was there through all of those major transitions. And just the two of you, the vision you had for this, I was excited to back it. And, some folks have said that we should use the podcast more as just a promo for the Turtle Room. And I've always wanted it to be kind of more of a program of the Turtle Room, right? Than like a PR stunt for the Turtle Room, so to speak. Like this is about, education and a little bit with entertainment and all that kind of stuff. And you guys did a great job with it. And from John passing the baton to Amanda to Chris and to Emily, like I'm excited for us to, continue to move forward and kind of re-envision the next 5-10 years. We have another exciting milestone for the podcast coming up in just a few months. We're going to hit 100 episodes soon too. And I'm really looking forward to, what we can put together for that. And actually, John, it'd be great if you could somehow join us for episode 100 too. And like I said, I think thanks to you being on, we might have actually figured out a common thread in some tech issues we've been having. So I'd love to try to get that fixed and have you back when things are working better. So
that's a good point. We've been struggling with Kevin and John now, and they're both on iPads.
Yeah, and so far, lots of different things. I've actually just submitted an issue to some folks to try to see if that we can get that fixed. Nice. Otherwise, we have to steer away from those devices for now. But yeah, John, love to have you back again. Anthony and John, again, incredible. The start you guys had with this, and John, it's so cool to see you again. As I was digging through to try to find old pictures of you, basically I found that one from Anthony, and I found one while you were coaching at Iona.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, this isn't as old as we were going for, so I didn't throw that one up. But
that's cool.
I remember that time too. So, John, you're always more than welcome. Like I still think of this a bit as your baby, and I've never actually removed you from the website because like I've always wanted to recognize you as like the creator of this thing. And so thank you for the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it to get it started. And tonight we relived all that blood, sweat, and tears as you tried to talk.
A lot of tears.
That's awesome. So thank you all so much. And thank you to the people who tune in as well. Like 10 years of a lot of you guys being here to support us. Certain times where the episodes just weren't landing right and getting really good feedback from people that, hey, you did this and I felt like you could have done that. Or, hey guys, there's an echo. Like all the things where people have given us feedback over the years has been really helpful. But coming back again and again and supporting us and just really being friends has been amazing. And now more than ever, when we started this, there weren't very many reptile podcasts. We are the second longest reptile podcast, second longest running reptile podcast in existence. And there were some really big ones that are now defunct, and then there's some other big ones now that just haven't been around as long as us. Morelia Python Radio is the only one that's been around longer than us, to my knowledge. And then, there are now other turtle shows as well. The TTPG is doing one, Let's Talk Turtles. There was What the Shell for a while, like different turtle. I knew you were going to love that, John. Different podcasts that you can choose from. You guys are
pioneers.
So these are but
pioneers for turtles for sure.
But these are great, and there's more space. So I think you want to talk about good episodes we've had. We had Exotic on, Emma Locke, of
that was fun.
Human Centipede 2 fame, who is a really well-known reptile animal tuber or whatever
Personality.
Yeah, personality who's a published author and everything. She was a great episode as well. And one thing she said that always stuck with me is there's always room for more. The algorithm supports more of the same type of content. So the more turtle podcasts there are out there, the better there is for everybody. So I've always been happy to help people who are new and want to try something out. There's tons of space for this. So, I love watching other people's stuff as much as I enjoy creating this stuff. So thank you everyone who supports and watches, tunes in, and thanks for 10 years of amazing experiences.
No doubt.
All right.
Yeah. Hands for John and Anthony for sure for getting this started and
Telling you.
getting things rolling.
Later, y'all.
It's been a fun 10 years for sure. So the Turtle Room hits 12 years old in June. The podcast's 100th will come in June or July, depending on whether we squeeze an extra one in there. So
Cool. Sweet.
Let's have some fun.
Always do. Till next time. I'm going to go get back to work.
Good luck tonight.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. I need it.
Bye, guys.
Ooh. Hot mic.